The starting mixture is 1 kilogram of water mixed with 35 grams of instant ocean. 10 grams of sap is being added to the solution, and in the original experiment with fresh water, the 10 grams would turn the mass to a gel within 40 seconds. Here, as you can see, is a stirring, and the time on the clock, we have approximately about 20 seconds more to see what happens. Unlike with the fresh water, the sap is responding very, very little. In fact, it's just forming very small granular particles in the bottom. As you can see, is being collected. There's no colloidal suspension at all. The sap is all sticking to itself. Okay, this is another attempt to see what happens with the sap. As you can see, while it is being stirred, there appears to be a larger particle suspension, but it's still acting like a colloidal suspension and not so much absorbing the water. This will in turn will start to settle out again, just like it originally did when the first 10 grams were added. Should be noted the time, and this is still the original 10 grams. I have measured out an additional 10 grams. As you can see in the cup, this is what 10 grams appears to be. We're going to add this to the solution. The total amount of sap in the salt water is now 20 grams. The mass optically appears like it's forming a gel, however it is not. As you can still see, it just the particle size is increasing, but it's still very fluid. Measuring out another 10 grams and getting ready to add this to the solution. Okay, with the addition of that 10 grams, we are now at 30 grams total in the salt water. With the container tilted on its side, you can start to see what appears to be a layer of separation. This is typical if you had dirt or something similar. Just think of murky creek water, and you were stirring it up and you allowed it to sit. As it settles, you're going to see a separation of layers. That's what we're going to see here with it sitting on its side. Is we'll be able to see a layer where the larger sap particles is separating out, and you can see that as the thicker white mass at the bottom, and then the layer at the top is what we have for a little bit of a colloidal suspension, and we have water. That's pure water, salt water. At that point, there is no sap, just fine particles maybe floating in it. I'm going to rotate the light here so we can take and get a better look at a side view, so there's more definition of how this layer appears. At this point in time, it's been over 8 minutes since the solution with the sap in it, and our current level is 30 grams, has been sitting on its side. And what we're going to do now is actually take a look and see just how big the grains of the sap are and just how much gel we have. And please, this is in comparison to 40 seconds in fresh water. As you can see in the bottom, we have our mass, what appears to be a possible gel. But as you'll see, there is no real gel-like mass. It's more of a colloidal suspension, very, very porous gel. What can be seen on my hand is the residue as I'm scooping off at the bottom. I'm going to try to get as large a chunk or a large amount of mass as I can. We'll see what happens when I squeeze it. As I squeeze that amount of sap, this gel, water squirted out from between my fingers. Instantly, when I took the new mass that appeared to be almost like the gel from the first series experiment and put it down into the water, it instantly broke apart and dissolved into the water. At this point in time, I'm preparing to add 10 more grams of sap to the solution. This will bring us up to a total of 40 grams. If you'll notice how fluid the water is, there is no gel-like structure that's preventing the water from being stirred at all. I am preparing to add 10 more grams of sap to the solution. At this time, finally, started to get a gel-like mass starting to form. As you can see, this was localized. This did not spread out through the rest of the water. This was a mound right where it was dumped at. Now at this point in time, I'm going to be stirring the fluid here, and this is almost like a real thin oatmeal-like mix. There's plenty of water. You can see the water in the various areas as this stuff is being mixed. There's water puddling up. At this point in time, is still a very loose gel-like structure. You can actually move the gel out of the way and see water pooling up in areas. This is an illustration here. There's a water puddle right in the middle where the gel has been moved out of the way. At this time, 10 more grams of sap has been added. As can be seen before the addition, there was still puddling of water. At this point in time, we're finally getting more of a gel-like structure. However, there is still a large amount of free water, as evident at the side of the container. You can see the water filling in as the gel is being moved out of the way. This is 60 grams of sap total. Here I'm going to scoop it out. It appears to look like the sap from the original experiment. However, there is still a lot of water that is being squeezed out. Unlike the original experiment, this sap has a wet feel to it. the original in fresh water actually felt dry.